I knew I messed up the second the words left my mouth, but by then it was already too late. You can't just unsay something like that, especially in front of his boss. I'm Sarah, 34, from Nashville, Tennessee, and this is the story of how a dumb joke at a work party pretty much flipped my whole marriage upside down. So last Friday, my husband, Jake, he's 39, asked me to go with him to his company's end-of-year party. Honestly, I wasn't super thrilled about it. These corporate events are always so, awkward, and I never really know what to, talk about with his coworkers. But Jake insisted. He was like, "It's important, Sarah. It'll look good if you come." Fine. I figured I'd just, play the supportive wife for one night. I even spent extra time doing my hair and makeup, put on that red dress he likes, and tried to look, put together, whatever that even means. But as soon as we got there, I just knew it was going to be one of those nights where I'd have to smile and nod my way through everything. The first hour? Totally fine. We mingled, did the whole "how do you know Jake" small talk thing with his coworkers, and I was on my best behavior. I had one drink, then another, and by the time dinner rolled around, I was actually starting to feel pretty good. And then, his boss showed up. Mr. Brooks. The guy Jake's always complaining about at home. He's always on my back, Jake says. Nothing I do is ever good enough. I had this whole picture in my head of some, grumpy old guy with gray hair and a clipboard or something. But nope. Mr. Brooks turned out to be, surprisingly young, late 40s maybe. Super sharp suit. The kind of guy who can, take over a room just by walking into it. I could see right away why Jake was always so stressed about him. We were all sitting at this big round table, me, Jake, his boss, and a bunch of coworkers, everyone laughing, chatting about holiday plans, whatever. Then, somehow, the conversation shifted to football. Jake is, a diehard Titans fan. It's kind of his whole personality. But Mr. Brooks? Turns out he's a Colts fan. And, if you know anything about football, you know Titans and Colts fans? They do not mix. They're going back and forth, playfully teasing each other. But I could see Jake was starting to get that look. The look he gets when he's, losing an argument but doesn't want to admit it. And that's when I did it. I leaned forward, smiled, and said, "Well, if you spend as much time at home as you do defending the Titans, maybe you'd actually win something for once." Table went silent. Even I felt it, the air just, got sucked out of the room. Mr. Brooks let out this loud "ha," slapped the table, and said, "I like her. She's got a point." But Jake? Jake didn't laugh. He didn't even look at me. He just leaned back in his chair, staring at the table like he was, silently counting to 10. And, I knew I should have stopped there. I really did. But, well, I didn't. 'Cause I'm me. So I doubled down. Maybe if you put that kind of energy into, our finances, we wouldn't be arguing about the cable bill every month, I added, with this little, snicker, thinking I was being, cute. Crickets. His boss just sipped his drink. One of his coworkers gave me this awkward, yikes kind of smile. And under the table, I felt Jake bump my knee with our little, shut up signal. But, of course, I ignored it. "Don't look at me like that," I said, tilting my head at him like he was the one being dramatic. "I'm just joking." "You know I'm joking." "No, Sarah," he said quietly, his voice, low but sharp like a knife. "You're doing too much." Then he just went back to eating, chewing like he was grinding rocks or something. The rest of the table? Dead silent. Nobody said a word, just the sound of forks scraping plates. I tried to play it off no big deal, but, inside I felt it. That sinking feeling in your stomach when you know you've gone too far. The rest of dinner was, super uncomfortable. Jake barely spoke to me. When he did, it was these short, clipped answers, "Yeah," or "I'm fine." I should have apologized. I knew I should have. But I didn't. I was still stuck in that "I'm right, he's overreacting" mindset. After dinner, Mr. Brooks brought it up again. "Man, Sarah, you're funny," he said, clapping Jake on the back. "She really keeps you on your toes, huh?" Jake didn't even fake a laugh. He just nodded and said, "Yep." And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about the joke. It was about, respect. I'd embarrassed him, in front of the one person he's been trying to impress all year. After dinner, everyone was supposed to head to the bar for drinks. But Jake? He didn't even ask if I wanted to stay. He just grabbed his coat, turned to me, and said, "Let's go." I tried to play it off, waving at everyone like, "Oh, guess it's my bedtime, huh?" Nobody laughed. We didn't say a word the whole ride home. Not one word. Jake was driving he was mad at the gas pedal, heavy foot, eyes straight ahead, jaw clenched. I just sat there scrolling on my phone, pretending I didn't care, but I kept glancing at him out of the corner of my eye. When we pulled into the driveway, I decided to, break the ice. "You're seriously mad about that?" I said, kind of laughing, even though it wasn't funny. "It was just a joke, Jake." He sat there for a second, hands still on the wheel, breathing slow and deep, giving himself one last chance to calm down. Then he turned to me, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "No, Sarah, it's not just the joke. It's you. I'm tired of this." And then he got out, slammed the door, and walked inside. Didn't wait for me. Didn't hold the door open like he always does. Just left me sitting there. I stayed in the car for a minute, heart racing, feeling, half mad, half confused. What did I even do wrong? It wasn't that serious. It was a joke. I mean, guys joke with each other like that all the time. Why is it, different when I do it? I finally got out of the car, went inside, still all defensive, ready to argue. But he wasn't in the living room. He was upstairs. I followed him, still in my heels, calling after him. "Jake, seriously? You're really gonna act like this?" I found him in our bedroom, packing a bag. An actual bag. "What are you doing?" I asked, standing there with my hands on my hips. "Where are you going?" He zipped it up, looked at me with this, tired but firm expression. "I'm done, Sarah." "Done with what?" I laughed, thinking he was bluffing. "Oh, come on, you're not leaving over a joke." But he didn't answer. He grabbed his bag, brushed past me, and headed downstairs. I followed him, still trying to, win the argument. "You're being ridiculous," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "I'm not chasing you, Jake. If you want to be stupid, be stupid." He got to the door, looked back at me, and said the words that, finally hit me. "You never know when to stop, Sarah. That's the problem." And then he walked out. I just stood there, still thinking he'd come back in a few minutes. But when I heard his car start and saw the taillights disappear down the street, that's when it hit me. He wasn't joking. I stood at the front door for a while, just staring at the empty street like he might turn around any second. I even pulled out my phone, half expecting a come outside text. But nothing. Just silence. I locked the door like that meant something and leaned against it, arms crossed, biting the inside of my cheek. He'll come back. He always comes back. We've had worse arguments than this, and he's never stayed gone for more than an hour. I went upstairs, still in that stupid red dress, heels clicking on the floor, and sat on the edge of the bed. His side of the bed looked so empty. Pillow was still dented from where he'd slept the night before. I stared at it. But instead of feeling sad, I felt annoyed. He's so dramatic. I grabbed my phone and shot him a text. "Where are you?" No response. "Okay, so now we're playing this game," I muttered, setting my phone down and heading to the closet. I stared at the empty space where his bag used to be. He really took his duffel bag like he was going on a trip or something. Ridiculous. My first thought? Call his mom. Oh, he hates when I do that. He's always like, "Stop running to my mom like you're tattling on me." But I didn't do it. I knew if I did, she'd probably side with him, and I wasn't about to sit through a lecture tonight. So instead, I called my sister, Amy. She picked up on the third ring. "What's up?" she asked. I sighed, flopping onto the bed. "Jake's being stupid." Oh, what did you do this time?" she said, laughing a little. What did I do? I sat up, offended. Why do you always assume it's me? Because it's usually you, Sarah, she said bluntly. What happened? I told her everything. The party, the joke, the whole scene at the table. Of course, I made it sound like it was nothing. Just a little playful back and forth, no big deal. I even threw in a few "he's so sensitive" comments for good measure. Sarah, Amy said, her voice suddenly quiet. You said that in front of his boss? Yeah, so? It's not like I lied, I shot back, annoyed she wasn't on my side. He's always complaining about how stressed out he is at work. So maybe if he handled things differently. Sarah, she cut me off, her tone sharper this time. You disrespected him in front of his boss. Men don't mess around with that. You made him look small. I sat there for a second, silent. Okay, but it was just a joke, I said, still defensive. He's being childish. Was he laughing? She asked. No. Then it wasn't a joke. Her words just hung there, heavy. I hate when she says stuff that makes too much sense. So I changed the subject. Anyway, he left. Packed a bag and everything. Wait, she said, her voice rising. He left? Like left. Yap, I said, tossing a pillow across the room. Acting like he's done or something. I'm not chasing him, though. If he wants to throw a fit, that's on him. Sarah, you might want to fix this, Amy said. He's not the type to bluff like that. He'll come back, I muttered. But for the first time, I didn't really believe it. That night, I barely slept. Every little noise outside had me checking my phone, thinking it might be him. But it wasn't. The hours dragged on, midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., still no texts, no calls. By 3 a.m., I caved and sent him another text. This time, something petty because, well, that's just who I am. Oh, so now you're just gonna ghost me? Real mature, Jake. Till nothing. By 4 a.m., I was pacing the house, muttering under my breath like I was having a full-blown argument with him, except, he wasn't there. I kept replaying everything in my head. Maybe I shouldn't have said what I said. But then I'd flip it back. No, he's just being soft. He's a grown man. If he can dish it, he should be able to take it. Eventually, I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up to birds chirping and my phone vibrating on the coffee table. For a second, I thought it was him. But nope, just a text from Amy. Any word from Jake? I didn't reply. I stretched, checked my call log, no missed calls, no messages. I told myself I wasn't gonna reach out again. He'll come back. He always comes back. But as the hours passed, that confidence started to, crack. By noon, I was standing in the kitchen, tapping my nails on the counter, debating whether or not to call him. I didn't want to. I hate being the one to call first. But that pride? It started feeling a whole lot heavier when I noticed his car still wasn't in the driveway. Where did he go? I called. It rang twice, then went straight to voicemail. Oh, that's what we're doing now? I muttered, shaking my head. Fine. Couple more hours passed. Till nothing. I started wondering if he might have gone to one of his friends. My first thought was his best friend, Ryan. But Ryan's house is basically a frat house. There's no way Jake would find any peace there. Maybe his brother, Mike? Called Mike. Hey, Sarah, he answered, casual as ever. Hey, is Jake with you? I asked, trying to sound nonchalant. Nope, haven't seen him. Why? Oh, no reason, just checking, I lied, nervously chewing on my thumbnail. You good? He asked, like he could tell something was up. Yeah, I'm fine, I said quickly and hung up before he could ask more questions. By now, that little seed of doubt had grown into full-blown anxiety. Not full-on panic, but like that creeping feeling in the back of your mind when you realize you might have underestimated something. Then, later that night, my phone finally rang. It was him. I answered on the first ring, trying to sound like I didn't care. Wow. Finally remembered you have a wife? I said, leaning on the counter with one hand. Sarah, he said, his voice calm but cold. We need to talk. Oh, now you want to talk? Where were you last night, huh? Don't do that, he cut me off. I'm not playing games. I'm the one playing games. You're the one who stormed out like a teenager. I stormed out because I'm tired, Sarah. Tired of being embarrassed by you. Silence. I didn't have a comeback for that one. Look, I'm not coming back home tonight, he said. I'm staying at my mom's for a bit. I need space. I laughed. Well, it wasn't really a laugh, more like a defense mechanism. Space for what? You act like I cheated on you or something. No, you didn't cheat, he said slowly. But you tear me down like you want me to feel small. I'm not living like that anymore. My chest tightened. Wow, so now I'm the bad guy? I said, leaning hard into the victim role. You're walking away from our marriage over a joke? He sighed, and I could hear him rubbing his face like he always does when he's frustrated. This isn't just about last night, Sarah, he said quietly. It's everything. The way you talk to me. The way you act like you're always right. I can't win with you. I'm done trying. My heart was pounding now. You're seriously doing this? I asked, my voice cracking. You're really throwing away our marriage? No, you threw it away, he said, and his words hit harder than I expected. I'm just walking away from the mess, and then I heard the click of the call ending. I just sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, staring at the call-ended screen like it might somehow change. My throat felt tight, but I didn't cry. I don't cry over stuff like this. He'll come back. He always comes back. But as the minutes ticked by, something about this time felt different. I called him back. Straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. I wasn't that desperate. I hovered over Amy's name in my contacts, but I stopped myself. I knew exactly what she'd say. Something like, well, you kinda pushed him too far this time, and I just didn't have the energy for that right now. So I stayed alone. By the second day, I started feeling that shift in my chest, that nagging feeling when you replay everything in your head and for the first time actually hear what the other person was saying. His words echoed in my mind like a song you can't turn off. You tear me down like you want me to feel small. I'm not living like that anymore. I'm done trying. I hated those words because, for once, I couldn't twist them into something that made me feel better. I couldn't blame him for being too sensitive or dramatic or immature. This time, it wasn't him. It was me. But even then, I didn't call him. My pride wouldn't let me. Instead, I did something worse. Posted on Facebook. Funny how people always think they're the victim when they're the problem all along. Stay gone if you want, I'm good over here. I threw in a selfie for good measure, dolled up like I had somewhere important to be when, in reality, I hadn't left the house in 2 days. Then I sat back and watched the comments roll in. Girl, you deserve better. If he can't handle you at your worst, he doesn't deserve you at your best. Exactly the kind of energy I needed. Validation on demand. Couple of friends even texted me, and yeah, I ate that up like dessert. Yep, I'm good. I'm always good. But by the third night, the phone stayed too quiet. No "where are you" texts. No missed calls. Nothing. It was like I didn't exist. That night, I broke. I found myself standing in front of our wedding photo on the mantel, just staring at it like it was some kind of crime scene. My smile in the photo looked fake now. His eyes looked tired. And I couldn't unsee it. I never noticed it back then. But now? It was glaring. Was he tired even back then? I sat on the couch, holding that old wedding photo in my lap, turning it over in my hands. On the back, the date was scribbled in Sharpie, April 23, 2015. I ran my thumb over it, trying to convince myself that none of this was my fault. I gave him everything, didn't I? I cooked. I cleaned. I stayed with him when he had nothing. I held it down. But that other voice in my head? The one that didn't need Amy or anyone else to check me. It was louder this time. It whispered, "You never apologized." I ignored it, flipped the picture back over, and set it down on the coffee table. I didn't owe him an apology. He overreacted. He's a grown man. He could have stayed and talked it out, but no, he ran like a kid. That's on him. That's what I told myself anyway. But by the fifth night, I knew I'd messed up. Still no texts, no calls, not even a quick "how are the kids" message. And that's when it really hit me. This wasn't just some dramatic stunt. This was serious. Jake's always been good about checking in on the kids no matter what. He loves them more than anything. So when I didn't hear from him, my chest started to feel tight in a way it hadn't before. I picked up my phone and called him again. Straight to voicemail. This time I left a message, even though I hated how weak I sounded. "Hey, I was just calling to see how you're doing. Kids miss you. So, yeah, just call me back or whatever." Click. I cringed as soon as I hung up. I hated how small my voice sounded. I hated how real this was starting to feel. A week later, I got served divorce papers. Right there on my front porch. Some random guy in a polo handed them to me like it was just another Tuesday. I snatched them out of his hand and slammed the door shut. "Unbelievable," I muttered, ripping open the envelope. "He's really doing this over a stupid argument?" I skimmed through the papers, not really reading them. It didn't feel real. People argue all the time. People say things they don't mean. And then they get over it, right? But apparently not Jake. A month went by and I convinced myself it was all for show. A power move to make me chase him. Classic Jake. He'd cave. Until I saw her. I was scrolling through Facebook one night and there she was, tagged in a picture with him. Some woman named Lauren. Blonde, skinny, probably one of those I wake up at 5 a.m. to meditate types. I clicked on her profile. It was completely public, rookie mistake. Her bio said, "Blessed beyond measure." I rolled my eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. And then I saw it. A photo of the two of them at a restaurant. His arm was around her. And he was smiling. Like really smiling. The kind of smile I hadn't seen on his face in years. The caption under the photo read, "So thankful for this man every day." This man. This man. My chest felt like it was on fire. I sat up straighter, scrolling through every single post, every tag, every little heart emoji. It was like digging through my own grave. This woman, this Lauren, was living the life I built. She was eating the food I taught him to like. She was reaping the benefits of everything I worked for. And the worst part? He didn't even wait. He didn't pause. He didn't grieve. He just moved on. I clicked over to his page and scrolled through his posts. Nothing. Not one word about the divorce. Not one post about being free or finding peace. Just silence. But that photo on her page? That said everything. I sat there, my jaw clenched so tight I could feel it in my temples. My first instinct? Post something again. Another Facebook status. Something slick, something petty. It's always the healed ones who forget who helped them heal. But don't worry, I'm good over here. I hit post and sat back, watching the likes roll in. For a second, it felt good. Validation on demand, just like before. But by midnight, I deleted it. Not because I regretted it. I just didn't want him to see it. That's when I realized something. Jake wasn't going to see it. He wasn't checking for me. He didn't care. Lauren was probably laughing at something he said while I was sitting there, staring at a screen. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Jake wanted to move on that fast, fine. But I wasn't about to make it easy for him. "You want to act happy, Jake? Cool. Let's see how happy you are after I get half." I didn't want him back anymore. Not at all. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't want him to feel it. And if I couldn't have him, I was damn sure gonna make sure his little blessed beyond measure girlfriend knew exactly what she'd signed up for.